Get ready for a period of radical change. A series of astrological events are coming that will overturn the traditional view of the zodiacal circle. From May through June 2025, fate will deal 7 crushing blows to established life scenarios. Nothing will be accidental, all events are aimed at thoroughly rewiring, shaking up and renewing those with sufficient fortitude. Scorpio 2.0 is no longer just a water sign. It is something new, amplified and awakened. As if pulled from the depths of the subconscious, it acts decisively and relentlessly, like a true predator. It is force majeure embodied in human form. Those who are not ready for change will have a hard time. But those who can pull themselves together will be completely different. On May 5th, at the peak of the Aquarida meteor shower, there will be an event that will set off a chain of changes on all levels. The environment, social status, everything will undergo a transformation under the influence of Scorpio 2.0. The first house of the horoscope, responsible for personality, body and self-perception, will be activated, awakening the inner predator. The old, outdated victim program will be ruthlessly destroyed. Now Scorpio will appear only as a winner. For example, a person, previously prone to apathy and complaints of fatigue, will suddenly move to a clear regime of the day, early rising, proper nutrition, intensive training. If he has enough strength, he will be more demanding of himself than ever before, knowing for what he is making such sacrifices. He will no longer be treated, just in case, but will begin to scan his body like a precision instrument, identifying and eliminating problems point by point and cold-bloodedly. The predator inside has awakened, and no one can stop him. The influence of the third house on the representatives of the sign of Scorpio is marked by a period of radical reassessment of the inner circle and ways of communication. There is a kind of sweep, the former tolerance for incompetence and stupidity gives way to uncompromising screening of those who are not useful. Colleagues who show tactlessness or intrusiveness, without unnecessary explanations are excluded from the sphere of communication. Scorpio does not descend to rudeness, but demonstrates a complete lack of desire to waste time on fruitless interactions. Emotional stability is strengthened, and for ineffective people there is no longer a place in life. The 10th house, which is responsible for social status and career achievements, gives Scorpio a special influence, a kind of shadow effect. There is a rejection of the desire to earn the approval of others. At the appearance of Scorpio in the collective there is a sense of freezing, his opinion becomes decisive, even if it is expressed only once. Scorpio does not need to obsessively attract attention or participate in a competitive struggle. Respect for him either arises on its own or his lack of it becomes a reason to end the interaction. The fear he may evoke is also an acceptable outcome. The May 12th full moon, passing in the sign of Scorpio and also affecting Libra, accentuates the axes of the 6th and 12th houses. This time exacerbates work conflicts, indicates the possibility of chronic overload and at the same time opens access to the hidden resources of the body. The moon highlights the shadow aspects of the personality, while the sun in Taurus demands concrete results. The emotional component takes a back seat to a rational approach and a new value system. During this period, Scorpios have a pronounced, predatory professionalism. The old principles of loyalty, empathy, and collectivism lose their importance. If earlier Scorpio could stay on uninteresting work for fear of change, now he is focused solely on the result. If there is no clear return on the activity, it stops. In the office environment, Scorpio distances himself from colleagues, avoids personal conversations and refuses to participate in other people's problems, especially if they are related to gossip and intrigue. Promises are made only within the framework of the tasks at hand. In the 6th sector of life there is a radical change of outdated paradigms, when a person refuses to work for a symbolic payment or in the name of an abstract idea. Now the principle is prioritized. If a task does not offer decent compensation or does not contribute to professional growth, it is simply ignored. If before an individual could shift the blame to incompetent superiors or an imperfect system, now he or she takes an active stance, demanding fair pay for his or her work or setting favorable conditions for himself or herself. For example, in the case of an offer of overtime work, instead of acquiescing, he makes clear demands, he stipulates the amount of payment, deadlines and necessary resources. Otherwise, rejection follows. In parallel, the mode of control and separation associated with the 12th house of the horoscope is activated. All previous obstacles, such as unspoken resentments, fears and emotional triggers, are discarded as unnecessary ballast. For example, in communication with a colleague with whom there was previously a conflict, a new format of interaction is established. Working dialogues become concise and specific, any clarification of relationships and personal topics are excluded. In case of attempts at emotional pressure, contact is immediately blocked, communication is transferred through third parties, and all agreements are documented. At the behavioral level there is a complete transformation of habitual reactions. Where before the representative of the sign of Scorpio preferred to remain silent, suffer or tolerate, now he makes logically valid actions. If the situation is unfavorable, he goes out of it, if favorable, take it under control. Everything becomes extremely simple and rational. At the end of May, namely on the 22nd and 23rd, the celestial bodies line up in an interesting configuration. The Moon, being in the constellation of Pisces, forms a close neighborhood with Saturn, Neptune and Venus. This astronomical phenomenon activates the 4th and 5th houses of the Scorpio horoscope, and also forms aspects to the rulers of the 8th house, located in the 12th. It would seem that this combination can provoke an emotional storm, but Scorpio remains cool and alert. Not for a moment he does not lose control of the situation. These days become a kind of test of strength in personal relationships and in those areas that are usually hidden from prying eyes. The so-called mirror mode comes into play, which marks a turning point. Old vulnerabilities associated with rumors, manipulation and emotional pressure are completely neutralized. Scorpio no longer succumbs to provocation, but only impassively records what is happening. If before he could be involved in someone else's intrigues, spend energy on explanations or, worse, justifications, now he prefers to return everything back to the sender. And he does it not with words, but with deeds. Any negative energy directed in his direction returns to the source with the same force and gloating, but without any comments. As an example, consider a situation at work. Suppose a colleague spreads a certain rumor denigrating the reputation of Scorpio. Previously, the latter could worry, agonizingly waiting for the situation to resolve itself. But now he acts differently, he makes a detailed report, supports it with irrefutable evidence, initiates an internal review and brings the issue to the public. He does this once, clearly and concisely, and then completely ignores further attempts to engage him in conflict or simply disengages from the source of the negativity. In the 4th sector of Scorpio's life there is a radical clearing of space. We are talking about home, family and the closest environment. In the field of vision remain only those people who do not slow down his movement forward. Random visits, annoying relatives and unexpectedly announced childhood friends, all this is a thing of the past, if it does not meet the new criteria. Scorpio will not maintain the appearance of family relations for the sake of propriety, he resolutely guards his boundaries. Attempts to manipulate, phrases like, "you are your own," no longer work. The 5th sector, the area of self-actualization, is also undergoing changes. It used to be a place where uninvited guests would enter, toxic acquaintances, dubious partners, and envious coworkers. Now it's off limits. Personal territory is under personal protection. Without Scorpio's consent, no one can penetrate there. All hidden conflicts are resolved through direct retribution. What does that mean? Anyone who causes trouble for the renewed Scorpio will face immediate consequences. But this is not an emotional or impulsive reaction as it used to be. Now it's a cold, precise, and firing back. Scorpio doesn't retaliate, he rebalances. Only after the fact and only once. There will be no repeat warnings. After that, everyone decides for himself whether it is worth contacting him. But, most likely, such a desire disappears instantly. The beginning of summer is marked by an astronomical event. June 1st, Venus reaches the peak of its western elongation. During this period of time, the second and eighth houses of the horoscope are particularly relevant for Scorpio, which brings the subject of finances to the forefront. The question of money comes to a head, excluding any sentimentality. Scorpio enters a new phase of its development, demonstrating a mature and uncompromising approach to material issues. The financial sphere is taken under strict control, marking a rejection of former naivety. In the past, Scorpios could be inclined to participate in dubious schemes, gullible to promises and invest in unpromising projects. However, now the situation changes dramatically. Every ruble is under strict accounting, preventing uncontrolled leaks. Money works exclusively in the interests of Scorpio himself, bypassing intermediaries, general affairs and dubious cover-ups. The approach becomes concrete, precise and systematic. When there is an opportunity for quick earning, Scorpio acts lightning fast, without unnecessary thought and excuses. If the benefit is obvious, he will not miss his chance, putting aside false modesty. Moreover, he does not intend to waste time discussing his actions or making excuses for them. Scorpio is willing to take responsibility for his speed and determination, but not for other people's emotions. He does not feel the need to explain his tough stance because it is not negotiable. All channels of money leakage are cut off, parasitic connections, obsessive requests for financial help and other manifestations of freebies are ruthlessly eliminated. Scorpio no longer intends to share, he intends to manage. Money is directed to where he has full control over the situation. If control is not possible, he instantly withdraws from the process. Any inefficiency in personal finances is eliminated without delay. Scorpio does not waste time to find out the reasons, but simply closes the project, acting coolly and decisively. On June 8, the celestial duo of Jupiter and Mercury form a conjunction, activating the relationship axis to its limits. Scorpio, as if throwing off the shackles of the past, decisively interrupts outdated scripts and moves toward conscious, constructive interactions that benefit him or her in tangible ways. The focus is on the seventh and third houses of the horoscope, symbolizing partnership, communication and personal connections, but without the shadow of revision or regret. The sphere of love is not left aside, but on the contrary, becomes a new, key front of life. Former attachments lose all access as a total blocking mode is activated on anything that impedes forward movement. Obsession and self-destructive self-criticism, so peculiar to Scorpio, are a thing of the past. After all, they were poisoning the existence of representatives of this sign of the zodiac, turning life into an endless, sawdust sawing. Earlier Scorpio could wallow in the past, losing sleep and peace. Intrusive images, disturbing thoughts, endless searches for reasons, self-digging, following the life of former partners, all this was a thing of the past. Now there is a complete disconnection from analysis and memories. There is only a fact: the past is over. In Scorpio women, this is manifested in the automatic rejection of imposed definitions and illusions. They do not look for the guilty, do not wait for calls and do not check social networks. The psychological bond is severed forever. Scorpio men react in a straightforward manner: deleted contact, forgot, does not discuss, does not explain, does not return to the past. Any attempt to invade the established block is suppressed immediately: ban, ignore and complete lack of response. Entering the uncharted territory of new romantic relationships, Scorpios are guided by an exclusively pragmatic approach, where feelings take a back seat. Instinctive amorousness, like an obsession, is turned off, giving way to rational observation. From now on, the choice of a partner is determined not by emotions, but by concrete facts. Sunny Scorpios demonstrate unprecedented openness, clearly marking the boundaries and establishing a distance. Personal access is strictly limited, and dialogue is carefully controlled. Intimacy becomes possible only after a thorough check for adequacy, as past experiences with inadequate personalities have left a deep mark. Scorpios with a pronounced ascendant show more softness, but the essence remains the same: a strict internal filter does not give a single chance to those who do not meet the set criteria. Random people and signs of fate have no place here. Scorpio no longer seeks love, but only allows its possibility in full compliance with all the requirements. During the summer solstice, when the sun reaches its zenith, the attention of Scorpios is focused on the actions of others. The astrological influence of the 9th and 4th houses emphasizes personal beliefs, boundaries, security and trust. This is a time of taking stock. Scorpios, known for their intransigence, do not forgive, forget or explain. Perpetual isolation mode kicks in, shutting down reflection and jealousy, which has caused a lot of trouble in the past. Anyone who has violated personal boundaries, betrayed or used Scorpio is irrevocably cut off, without negotiation or second chances. Whereas Scorpio used to spend time and energy analyzing why things happened, now it refuses to do so, recognizing that harmful people don't change. Isolation becomes the only way out, no promises, no access, no mention. The karmic reversal manifests not in inner work, but in outer fixation. All actions directed against Scorpio come back boomerang. This is not revenge, but an automatic response of the system, a rupture of the energy channel. When someone dares to provoke Scorpio, he awaits a harsh retribution, the complete cessation of all communication. The offender disappears from sight, as if he never existed. If in the natal chart of Scorpio the sun is in this sign, the breakdown of communication becomes final and irrevocable. He will no longer look in the direction of the offender, monitor his actions or allow any interaction. Scorpios with an ascendant in this sign may retain a semblance of politeness, but only on a superficial level and up to a certain point. Contact becomes empty, devoid of any energy. The person may be physically present nearby, but to the Scorpio he or she no longer has any meaning. Scorpio never acts directly. He prefers to remove from his life those who have not passed his test of strength. Beyond that, as the saying goes, everyone gets what they deserve. Karma hangs over the head of everyone who has dealt with Scorpio. On June 30th, the moon will conjunct Mars, completing an important cycle. This will be the final fix in the process of flashing Scorpio version 2.0. All the processes are already in place, the settings are fixed, and there is no turning back. So who is affected by this powerful update? The first house is the fixation of identity. This is a matter of self-determination, who I am, how I act and what I allow in my life. Scorpio clearly defines its boundaries and does not allow anyone to violate them. The second house is personal resources. It is not only about money, but also about the right to decide to whom and what to give. Scorpio takes control of all his resources and disposes of them as he sees fit. The 10th house is external realization. What matters is not who Scorpio appears to be, but who he becomes as a result of his activities. This is the sphere of work and influence where Scorpio strives for the top. Financial well-being becomes an attribute of complete self-control. All sources of income become transparent and clear. Scorpio does not allow any risks without prior calculation. He closes all leakage channels so that no parasite can change his course. No system or person can influence his financial decisions. Scorpio does not waste his resources on emotions or investing in other people's goals. He only invests in things that benefit him and his loved ones. For example, he may spend money on his family, if it is really his family, or provide assistance, but only under strict supervision. All of Scorpio's movements become more fixed than ever before. He carefully plans his every move and leaves no room for accidents. In the sphere of personal relationships and love, Scorpio shows extreme selectivity, forming a narrow circle of trusted people around him. His attention, a valuable resource, and he will not spray it on random passers-by. A person honored to be near Scorpio, passed the strictest test to meet his high internal standards. For him, relationships based on ostentatious status, fear of loneliness or the desire for beautiful photos on social networks are unacceptable. In his life there is only someone who fully meets his deepest criteria. In matters of family, Scorpio is also devoid of illusions. For him it is important either absolute reliability and loyalty, or keeping a distance. Love in his understanding, it is not a subject for discussion and empty talk. If it is, it means that it has passed all the necessary tests of time and circumstances. If it is not there, it means that the partner has not been able to prove his worthiness. Emotions are certainly present in the life of Scorpio, but he keeps them under strict control. He does not feel affection for those who have not confirmed their value by actions, and the more ruthlessly gets rid of inadequate and toxic personalities. This manifests his essence of an autonomous operator, a person who does not tolerate subordination, even if formally part of any system. Scorpio clearly realizes his place and will not allow anyone to move himself from his conquered positions. His career goals are always concrete and ambitious, and his business approach is tough and uncompromising. In working with people, he is guided solely by functional responsibilities, completely excluding emotional involvement. If a project turns out to be unpromising, he does not hesitate to withdraw from it. If a person fails in his tasks, he removes him from his path without regret. Scorpio always strives to be at the helm, and if this is not possible, he prefers to leave the game. There is no third option for him. June 3rd is not a line that sums up the results, but rather an important milestone, a moment of consolidation of what has been achieved. Scorpio 2 is no longer just an outburst of emotion, but a whole-built system, a fresh look at the usual zodiacal sign. In this new system ruthlessly cut off everything that hinders development, whether it is outdated methods or potential threats. The decisions have been made, the paths have been mapped out, and now it remains only to move forward, to new heights.